All right, Booker and Stryker with Rivers Cuomo of the band Weezer as we celebrate 30 years of the Blue Album. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing fantastic. So the huge tour that you're going to do with Flamin' Lips and Dinosaur Jr., I don't know if you've said, are you going to play the entire Blue Album in full plus a ton of other songs? Do you know yet?
Yeah, of course. We're going to play the Blue Album front to back.
Nice.
Yeah, we're trying to put together this whole like epic story called Voyage to the Blue Planet, and there'll be cool special effects and a spaceship and all that. And then we land on the Blue Planet, and then we play the album. It'll be cool.
Are you going to come out in spacesuits and stuff?
Something like that, yeah.
I probably just ruined it.
No.
We're actually still designing the show, so I'm not 100% sure yet, but it'll be something like that.
Cool.
Is this going to take more rehearsal than normal to learn some of those songs that maybe you haven't played in a long time? Some of them you play all the time, of course, though.
No, I think maybe because we wrote them and learned them when we were young, they're like stuck in our brains, and it's just like muscle memory. It doesn't take any work at all.
Yeah. What's the one that it's been the longest since you've played last?
You know what? We still play they're all still in rotation. Yeah, they're pretty regularly.
Rivers, has your top 2 or 3 favorite songs from the Blue Album changed over the years, or your top 3 favorites 30 years ago are still the same, and what are those?
I think my favorite when we turned in the album to Geffen Records in 94 was the song called No One Else. And maybe my favorite now is Say It Ain't So. And it just still has this incredible depth of emotion to it when we're playing, and you know, I get goosebumps every time I get to the chorus. Say it ain't so. I just love it.
And what about, I mean, all of your songs, but that one in particular, the audience screaming it back at you louder than you're singing to us? What's that feeling like?
Well, that's the best feeling as an artist. You just want that like approval and confirmation and connection to all these other people. It's the greatest feeling.
Is it wild to go back and think about those days, like the first album and the first recording and sitting in a studio with Rick Ocasek and reliving some of those memories again that maybe you haven't dug up in a while? Like, what's something that's, I don't know, re-earthed in your mind that's come to the forefront again because of this anniversary?
I actually have 380 pages of notes in Word doc. It's all like I've interviewed people over the years and just kept track of all my memories from that time. And I've just gone back and started rereading it. And one thing that struck me this time is how many like young men were packed into a small space and like living in houses together and talking about ideas together. And I don't have that. You know, everyone's kind of split up and got married. Have their you know, lives are based around their families now. But that was a really cool thing. It's a cool thing when you're a young person to have that.
We've crossed paths, all of us, luckily, over the last 25 or 30 years. But how did Rick end up producing Weezer? Did he reach out to you, you to him? It was a random pairing. How did that happen?
Well, we got a record deal with Geffen, and we thought we knew exactly how we wanted the record to sound. We don't want a producer. But they absolutely insisted, this is your first album. Second album we can talk about, but first album, you guys need a producer. So I had that in my head. And then one day I was in the grocery store picking up some ramen noodles or whatever.
Right.
And on the music, and there comes the car song, Just What I Need. Is like, dun, 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 and the keyboard line, and I was like, man, that's exactly what we want to sound like. So let's get that guy. And we sent him our demo tape, and he immediately responded and was totally blown away and very enthusiastic. Whereas most of the people in the industry so far, we'd given him our tape, and they're like, but he really got it. So we went with him.
Wow. And getting the record deal with Geffen, looking back on it, was it a struggle to get that, or someone saw you play at a venue and then they brought you in and they said, sign here, please?
Yeah, was it
work?
a tape? Did you just have, this is my submission and it's that easy?
Well, at the time it felt like it took forever and it was really hard. We played, once a week in the clubs here in LA, and we just did that for a year and a half, and we kept making demo tapes and passing them around the industry. And first some indie labels got interested, then finally the majors got interested. They all came and checked us out, and they all passed. Except for one, it was Geffen Records. So, I mean, that was a perfect home for us at the time. They had Nirvana, of course,
Right.
and Beck and Guns N' Roses.
Well, I was
going to
say, go back. You were a metalhead, and I mean, to see Geffen, you must have been like, Guns N' Roses, I'm totally in.
Totally. Whitesnake. Sure,
absolutely. Still of the night, let's go.
And man, they really knew how to break bands back then, so give them a lot of credit.
What about the Sunset Strip in 1993, 94? What was the scene like, and were you guys fitting in when you were doing shows, whether it was the Strip or any of the other venues in LA?
Well, when I first moved here, it was a little earlier, 89, 90, and the Sunset Strip was still jumping, and it was all like guys in spandex and long hair, and yeah, I did fit in at the time. It was super fun. Every weekend night we'd go out and pass out flyers, and Sunset Boulevard was just packed with kids, and that was a time of my life. But then, times changed and styles changed, and then we didn't play those clubs so much anymore, but we played some other clubs around town. And for some reason, it was important that the flyers shrank. They were used to be 8.5 by 11, then they turned into these little ones, and that seemed cooler for some reason. We all cut our hair, and yeah, playing the clubs was great. I miss those days.
Well, let's talk about the evolution of the Strip and of the band. So, that was a sound. If we're talking the Crew or whatever was up and down the Strip at that time, did your band sound more of that direction when you started to play, and you maybe moved to the Weezer sound as it is all during this? Like, how many years did this take? Did it happen overnight? What was the evolution of that time frame?
Yeah, when we started, I moved to Connecticut. I moved from Connecticut with a heavy metal band. I guess maybe it sounded like Queensryche, something like that, Yngwie Malmsteen. And then, piece by piece, things would change. Like I started singing the songs myself. I started writing my own lyrics. That shifted it more towards what you hear on the Blue Album. And then my voice changed too. At first I was trying to sing like Kurt Cobain or Perry Farrell or something, but I just don't have that kind of voice. As soon as I finally accepted, like, oh, this is how I naturally sing, that's when it started sounding like the Weezer we all know on the Blue Album.
Wow. When you moved here in 89 or so, was anyone in your family, that's a long way to come, and you're a very young dude, did they say, wait, Rivers, what are you doing? Yeah, going to be in a heavy metal band at the Sunset Strip? What's wrong with you?
No, they're all pretty supportive. I mean, my parents probably did the same thing when they were my age. Yeah.
When you finished the Blue Album, did you all look at each other and think you had something special, or is it more of just we're finished, what's the next thing, let's go tour it? What was your mindset from your notes? What do you recall?
Yeah, I remember listening back to the first mastered version of the Blue Album and just thinking, like, this is the greatest thing ever. It's so beautiful and so important to me, and I just think it's the greatest. And at the same time, another part of my mind is saying, this is not going to be a success, and, you have to prepare to go back to Tower Records and get your job there and all that stuff. So I think I had both going on in my head at the same time.
Yeah.
Is Tower Records the last normal job you had?
Yeah. No, you know what? I was a dishwasher in an Italian restaurant for a few months. As Weezer was still playing in the clubs, and it didn't go too well. I was too much of a perfectionist, and I'd spend too long on each fork, and the whole entire staff had to wait for me to finish at the end of the night.
I'm going to go to Tower Records for a second.
Yeah,
you go
first,
so we're at the same place.
You go, then
because I'm thinking Jack Black and what's High Fidelity. I'm thinking music snobs. People come in, you have to have this record. What was your vibe in that mix of people in Los Angeles as music experts tossing music suggestions out to other people? Was it like that?
Yes, it was the greatest possible education for me, because when I showed up, I didn't know anything about the history of rock music, and the people there were they're older and more experienced, and every day I'd be there 8 hours a day, and they just play these classic records, and slowly, like, my mind opened. I was like, okay, there's more to music than just Metallica. I still love Metallica, but they turned me on to the Beatles and the Beach Boys and Sonic Youth and all kinds of 80s alternative music, and it was a real education.
I have back-to-back questions. The first one is, when you applied to work at Tower Records, Do you remember any of the questions they asked you that led you to getting that job?
Do you have a criminal record?
No. You're like, well, did they say, what's your favorite band? Like, did they ask you any of those things?
No, I don't remember any of that. It was just, yeah, sure, you can have a job.
Wow. God, even dumbbells like us can work there.
I would love to work at a record store.
That would be
That'd the
so
coolest thing in
fun.
the world, yeah.
What album did you guys sell the most when you worked there?
When I first started, there was a Depeche Mode record that come out. Sinead O'Connor. I think Public Enemy was really big in my rotation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there a band that
Black
had
Crowes.
that maybe good one? Is there a band that maybe had, I don't know, the most influence or a lot of influence on Weezer as you sort of segued your musical preferences into recording this first album? I mean, you mentioned the Cars and Rick Ocasek and what that was like, but was there anything that you sort of said, this is taking me where I want to be?
Yeah, I think it was the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds.
Okay.
Specifically the melodies and the range of the vocal, and I just, before every show, even when we're playing the clubs, I'd put that record on and just sing along to it to get my voice warmed up and just to kind of get into that space vocally.
Rivers, you did not celebrate, from what I remember, 20 years of the Blue Album.
No.
And you are always working and someone that moves forward.
Yes.
Why is it time in your mind and the band's to celebrate 30 years? Like, why? I know it's 30 years, but why are you celebrating it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know why, but it seems like anniversaries have gotten more important over the last 10 years. Like 20 years was like, okay, it's a thing, but who cares? But now it seems like everybody's making a huge deal out of anniversaries. Does it seem that way to you guys?
Absolutely.
But we've talked to a lot of bands, and some bands, let's just say they took a pause in their creative thing, or it just didn't continue working at the level that they were at when it came out. And I don't want to name names, but we've interviewed quite a few bands that the trajectory wasn't going in the right direction. You've always constantly put out music and have always been able to maintain. So maybe that's why, because now this whole thing has come back where people are missing that time. Maybe it's just people our age have grown up and we're looking back and we revere that time so much.
And I think even for kids, now they have every album ever made in their pocket, right? And they're getting hit by it on TikTok or whatever. So it seems like for kids, they're just more aware of old music, and in some senses, it's kind of like it could be like a new release from a new artist or something. It's just all existing at the same time.
Right. But one thing that I believe is when you go back 20 years or 30 years, I would listen to track one, and after listening to track one many times, I knew what was coming up on track two, and I could start singing the song already. And I think bands that are doing the full album, as someone in the audience, I can't wait to a song is fading because I know what's coming up next, and I know exactly how it's going to go.
Yeah, that's true. That's pretty cool.
God, I'm trying to think. So the tour, you're going to do the entire country, the whole world. What's this going to look like?
Well, Voyage to the Blue Planet proper, so far is we just have slated for the entire U.S. and some Canada. But we do have like a week or two in the UK before that with the Smashing Pumpkins. And I don't know, we'll see. I'm not sure what the set list is yet, but it could be pretty blue heavy.
Nice.
Yeah.
So in just a few days, that would be March 15th. You're playing a very small show here at the Lodge, and Dog Star, correct, is opening up. Where do they fall in the Weezer history?
Well, they're an important early chapter in the Weezer history. That was Keanu Reeves' band in the early 90s. And I still remember the day that I had called the club Raji's every day. It was like 30 days in a row. We hadn't had a show yet, but I was like, we're this band Weezer. Can you get us a show? And never called back. And then one day he called back and said, can you come in today? We just had a cancellation. You're going to go on after Keanu Reeves' band. So we're like, heck yeah.
Cool.
So that was our first show.
That was the first show.
Yeah. So we went, they headlined, then we went on after them at 1 a.m. And as we started playing, all the ladies there to see Keanu Reeves started filing out.
But what? Imagine that's really coming
That is
full
wild.
circle.
That is wild. So were you friendly that night? Did you become friends with that band? And was this an intentional full circle moment?
I don't think we had the privilege of
Nope.
meeting that night. No. But yeah, this is intentional. It's like let's go back to that moment it all started.
Wow, this is so fun. Can I ask him a question that you may get mad about?
You ask him.
Okay, Rivers Cuomo, how is your golf game?
Oh boy.
And when is the last time you played?
I actually signed up for whatever golf association, so that I have an official handicap. Every time I play, I go in and enter there, and anyone can search for me on there, so you can see how terrible I am.
What is your handicap right now?
I'm happy to say last week I played, I got a 45 9 holes at Encino.
Is that good?
So,
Nice.
yeah.
It is good. Yeah.
Yeah, so my handicap lowered from 34 to 32.
I have never been. Forget all the talk about the early days. So
You
anyway,
just want to go golfing with
do
him
you
now.
use a golf cart or do you walk?
I recently got one of these push carts.
Okay.
I really love it.
Yes.
Yeah,
the
it's like
kind
butter.
that's mechanical, or you're actually pushing it.
It's not remote control.
Okay.
I push it, but
You
it's
guys are doing well. You can get a mechanical one.
This segment brought to you by golf.
All right. Anyway, anytime you want to play, it's my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Loves golf.
I'm down.
Okay.
He'll carry your
Amazing.
bag.
What's your handicap?
I'm a 12.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you don't want to play with him.
No. You do want to play. I love playing with
But
everyone.
you're
but
good though, right?
I've gotten good recently just because that's all I think about. I should be doing other things in life.
Like working on this show.
Yes. Just
Any
saying.
other artists you know that play?
Adrian Young from No Doubt is amazing. He's like a 2 handicap.
Whoa.
M Shadows from Avenged Sevenfold is a 4 handicap.
Oh yeah. You know what? We were DMing each other on Twitter about playing together.
Yeah, you should play. I
do it.
played with them. His muscles are bursting out of his golf shirt. He smashes it so far. It's really fun to
What
play
do you
with
talk
him.
about when you're playing golf? Do you talk about music or is it just everything?
Music, life. Oh, there's a duck. Oh, look at that bunny rabbit. Oh, I just got a 9 on a hole. All that kind of stuff.
I'm usually better. I don't stick this much
I'm just
usually.
happy to be out of the house. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, cool, Rivers. Awesome.
All right. Well, I don't know how to segue out of golf. I can just thank him for being here. I guess.
Pickleball?
Oh, boy.
I love pickleball as well. Do you like pickleball?
I love it.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Jesus. 30 years. Can't
I
wait to
think
talk about this at 50 years.
I think I'm a 3.7.
Oh.
Not official, but yeah.
Do you play pool?
No, I don't play
Okay.
pool.
All right. What about darts?
No.
Okay.
Should I?
Darts is really fun, man.
Interesting.
Yeah, I love darts. Very precise.
We went off the rails.
How about caroms? Did you ever play caroms?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even know what that is. I
All
thought
right,
you
sorry.
made that up.
30
I
years.
swear to God, I
30
thought you
years
made
of
that
the
up.
Blue Album. Booker,
Wow.
take us out,
30
buddy.
years of the Blue Album. He's Rivers from the band Weezer. I'm so thrown off by all
Congratulations
this.
on an amazing career. Thanks for all the good times and great memories.
Thank you.
You got it.
Good luck with the tour.
All right.